Hey everyone, Kato here with the new mobile game from Niantic and Nintendo. That's right, this is Pokemon Go Basics. Everyone and their mother has played Pokemon Go at this point, but this game does very little to explain some of the nuances of tracking down and catching Pokemon. I've done some research and I'm here with some of the tips and tricks that you'll need on your quest to catch them all. In this video, I'll be going over how to hunt, lure, and capture Pokemon. First, let's start with the game screen. Here, you'll see your current location on a map of your actual town. You'll see two types of landmarks, blue cubes known as Pokestops, and gyms. In order to interact with these landmarks, you'll have to walk towards them until your interaction circle is touching the landmark. Once you're in range, you can simply tap on the landmark to interact with it. Pokestops will be local landmarks and businesses. When you tap on one, you'll see a photo and a description of the landmark. Simply swipe at the photo to receive some items. You can receive potions, Pokeballs, and eggs from Pokestops. Back on the main screen, on the bottom left, you'll see your current level under a picture of your avatar. If you tap on your avatar's icon, you'll bring up your stats page, where you can see your experience points, how many Pokecoins you have, and once you've reached level 5, what team you're on. From here, you can scroll down to see your achievements or tap Journal to get a list of recent events, like the last time you captured a Pokemon or used a Pokestop. Back on the main screen, you'll see a Pokeball on the bottom of your screen. This takes you to the main menu, where you can access your Pokemon, your items, the shop, and your Pokedex. For now, we're going back to the main screen. On the bottom right, you'll see the silhouettes of Pokemon in a small rectangle. If you tap this, you'll bring up what I like to call the Pokeradar. This shows you a rough estimate of how far Pokemon are from your current location. You read it from top left to bottom right when it's open, and from right to left when it's minimized. As you get closer to a Pokemon, first it will move to the top of the list. Then the amount of paw prints underneath will go from 3 to 2 to 1, to finally no paw prints, which means you're essentially on top of them. The only real way to track down a Pokemon is through a process of elimination. First, start out by walking in any direction. If you get closer to the Pokemon, for example, the Pokemon moves up the list or the Pokemon gets less paw prints, then keep on going until either A, you find the Pokemon, or B, the Pokemon gets further away again. If the Pokemon gets further away, then that means you've passed through its area and you need to backtrack to somewhere in between where you started and where it got further away again. This chart essentially shows you how you can use process of elimination to figure out which direction you need to go. It'll take a bit of walking, but it almost always works. Sometimes, if you spend a long time searching for a Pokemon, it might despawn, meaning it is no longer in that area. But for some reason, there's a bug where a Pokemon will stay on the radar even if they aren't available for capture anymore. If you close the program and restart it, it should refresh your Pokeradar. Once you've found your mark, simply tap on the Pokemon to enter capture mode. In order to capture the Pokemon in front of you, you'll have to toss some Pokeballs at it. The white ring around the Pokemon is the hitbox for the Pokemon. As long as your Pokeball hits within this circle, it will hit the Pokemon. When you hold your finger on the Pokeball, you'll notice that there is now a secondary colored circle that moves. This new circle tells you a couple things. First, the color lets you know how difficult it will be to catch the current Pokemon, with bright green being an easy catch, yellow for moderate catch, and red for a nearly impossible catch. Secondly, the size of the circle when you hit the Pokemon determines how likely you are to catch it. The smaller the colored circle, the higher your chances of capture. You can gain bonus XP and make your chances even higher if you hit the Pokemon within the colored circle. Getting either a nice, great, or excellent rating on the throw, depending on the size of the inner circle that you hit, will give you 10, 50, or 100 XP respectively. You can also throw a curveball by dragging your finger in a circle until the Pokeball starts to sparkle and then let it fly. If you hit this right, it will give you extra XP as well as make your chances of capturing a little bit better. On the bottom right of the screen, you can access your items. This lets you use items like raspberries, which make the next Pokeball that hits the Pokemon more likely to capture it. It doesn't matter if you miss a few times after using a raspberry, the effect applies to the next ball that actually hits. Once you hit level 8, you'll start receiving Great Balls. If you want to swap from a regular Pokeball, you can also do it in the item menu. If you're familiar with the regular Pokemon series, then you'll know what happens next, but for the uninitiated, you'll see the ball shake as the Pokemon gives one last-ditch effort to break free. It will shake 3 times before finally clicking shut, confirming that you've caught the Pokemon. Sometimes it will only shake once and then the Pokemon will break free and you'll have to try again. The amount of shakes equates to how close you were to actually capturing the Pokemon. Once you've actually caught it, you'll see a screen showing the total XP earned for your capture and how much Stardust and candy you've received. On the next screen, the game will show you the statistics of the Pokemon. CP stands for Combat Power. Think of it as your Pokemon's level. It affects their HP and how much damage they do with their attacks. Under the Pokemon's name, you'll see their hit points, their type, their weight, and their height. All of these statistics affect battling in some way. I'm making a video on battling soon. Click the link on the screen to get to it when it's ready. Under those statistics, you'll see your current stockpile of Stardust and Pokemon-specific candy. Stardust is used in conjunction with candies to raise the CP of your Pokemon. You gain Stardust from capturing Pokemon and hatching eggs. You'll see a button under these numbers to power up that Pokemon with how much Stardust and candy you'll need to do it. And if that Pokemon has an evolution, you will also see an Evolve button with how many candies you need to evolve the Pokemon. You get 3 candies every time you capture a Pokemon, and around 10 when you hatch one from an egg. You can transfer any Pokemon you want to Professor Willow for 1 candy. Candies are specific to that Pokemon's entire evolution family. So for example, Weedle candy are used to power up and evolve Weedle, Kakuna, and Beedrill. Under the Power Up and Evolution buttons, you'll see that Pokemon's attacks. The number to the right of the attack's name is its base power. This number, along with your Pokemon's CP, will determine how much damage the attack does to other rival Pokemon. I'll go over attacks more in depth in my battling video. Below the attacks, you'll see a map showing you the rough area where you caught that specific Pokemon. This can be useful if you want to try and find that specific Pokemon again, since they seem to have specific spawn points that they tend to come from. Under the map is the transfer button. As I said earlier, this allows you to trade this Pokemon in for one of their respective candies. It doesn't matter what the Pokemon's CP is, or how much you might have raised its CP, you only ever receive 1 candy for a transfer. Okay, so now you have a rough idea of how to find Pokemon, but what if you want to capture even more, or have them come to you instead of having to walk around to hunt them? That's where Incense and Lures come in. In the Pokeball menu, you can access your items. Incense is an item that you can use that will make the chances of finding Pokemon much higher for the next 30 minutes. It only affects you, so if you're walking around with a friend, unfortunately, they won't see as many Pokemon as you will. If you want to do some group Pokemon catching, you'll need to use a lure. Lures are items that can be set into a Pokestop that lure Pokemon towards that stop, and its effects will work for anyone in the vicinity. To set a lure, simply tap on the Pokestop, then tap the small white button that's just above the photo of the Pokestop. It'll show you how many lures you have. Simply tap one of the lures to use it. These lures are great to use on stops near your home or work, or if you're out at a restaurant and want to catch some Pokemon while you're stuck in one spot. And last but not least, I want to talk about eggs. You can get eggs from Pokestops, but nothing will happen with them unless you set them into an incubator. Under the Pokeball menu, select Pokemon. On the Pokemon list, swipe to the left to see your current eggs. Tap an egg you want to hatch and select Incubate. It will show you how many incubators you have available. You get 1 infinite use incubator for free, and you'll receive a few 3-use incubators when you level up. But other than that, you'll need to use Pokecoins in the shop to buy more incubators. Once an egg is incubated, you can start trying to hatch it. You need to have the app open and not in the background for it to count your kilometers walked. Once you've walked enough, you'll get a random Pokemon based on the type of egg: 2 kilometer, 5 kilometer, or 10 kilometer. with each longer distance giving you a rarer and rarer Pokemon. If you want to level, gain Stardust, and candies quickly, it is a good idea to spend a few bucks in the store so you can incubate as many eggs as possible at one time. When you hatch eggs, you're going to be receiving around 500 XP and somewhere around 1,000 Stardust for each egg, alongside around 10 candies for the Pokemon that hatched. Alright everyone, that's it for this video. In my next video we'll go over gyms and how to earn Pokecoins. See y'all next time, and thanks for watching.